Hello, and welcome back to Griz Paths, the Alumni Career Pathway Series. I'm so glad everyone is here and able to join us today. My name is Jay Beagle, and I am the Engagement and Outreach Coordinator for the Alumni Office, and I will be moderating today's panel. With me today are three wonderful panelists, all of whom have made a great impact in the field of entertainment management. So to kick things off, I would like to give them the floor, and so if you could each introduce yourselves and share your current role and what led you to a career in entertainment management.
I can start off. My name's Scott Osborne. I am a concert festival producer, actually located in Missoula, Montana right now. More recently started and founded the Zootown Music Festival. Previous to that was in Dallas, producing concerts and festivals, notably one called Lights All Night, which was a big EDM festival down in Dallas. And University of Entertainment Management program was a huge kickstart for me to get started in the entertainment program and working with the professors and relying on the classes to kind of get started in my journey in live entertainment. And yeah, so excited to be here.
I'll go.
Doesn't matter which one goes first. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Darcy Temple. I am currently the sponsorship and marketing manager at Metro Park and Montana Fair here in Billings, Montana. I am a Billings, Montana native, so born and raised here, except for my time I spent in Missoula going through the program. And funny enough, Scott, I believe the Lights All Night was a case study that we did when I was going through the program. So I graduated in 2014, and
Nice.
I can't remember the professor's name at the time, but I'm pretty sure you came in as a case study that we did. So yeah.
Well, Scott, you're old. You're a case study. That's awesome. My name's Austin Mullins, Great Falls native, currently live in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a booking agent at WME here in Nashville and work specifically in our country music department. And even though I just made fun of Scott, we're the same age, so if there's a case study to be done on me, I feel sorry for anyone that would have to listen to that. But
you're next.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, just did the program, just like everybody else on here at U of M, and moved to Nashville after graduation, and been working here in the agency biz ever since.
Great. Well, thank you to all three of you. I forgot to mention earlier, if anybody in the audience has any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A or the chat, and then I will go ahead and ask those questions to our panelists. But first, I'll start off with some of ours to get the ball rolling. So what role did your education at the University of Montana play in preparing you for your career?
I'll start the talk there. I think for me specifically, it was guiding me to find what sector of the music industry I was going to be in. I actually was a music student when I started at the U, and then eventually became a music minor, and found the entertainment program once I realized that I was probably better suited to actually be on the business side of things than try and be a professional musician of any sort. And overall, sort of the whittling down process of finding an actual lane, and maybe I'm a lucky one that I kind of found what I found to be interesting and decided to go after, and I've been doing it. People certainly are entitled to change their ideas of what they want to do, or they find out things and pivot and whatnot. But really the program and the business school overall as well just really helped me, or open up my eyes to all the different career paths that were available, and also the path to actually go forward and accomplish that. So that's where the university and the business school and the entertainment program really helped me, as well as all of the connections and mingling with alum and professionals in the industry that the program provided, and the networking.
Yeah, I'll jump in next. So, my major was in marketing and management, and my passion was going to live events and concerts. So, finding out about the entertainment management program, it was like the best of both worlds colliding. So, the program definitely gave me a leverage of the internship that I ended up landing here at Metro Park with the fair in 2014, right after graduation. So the university played a huge role in getting me to where I am today.
Yeah, and I absolutely echo all of those sentiments. I was fortunate in that when I was in college, I kind of had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do in live entertainment, and I actually had a friend that was in the program who suggested that I go meet with the professors of the program and kind of talk through how UMEM could be helpful. And that was a huge part for me, is relying on mentors and professors, specifically a professor at the time, Tom Webster, who I think is on the call right now, um, to really start understanding what the dynamics were of booking talent, producing shows, connecting with agents and managers, and really putting that full package together. But also the connections that the program gave me were definitely invaluable to get started and build credibility and just have people to rely on to call and ask questions, and still doing those things and relying on those people to this day.
Great, thank you. So tell us about your first job or internship that you landed in entertainment management. Was there any unexpected turns? Like how did you land that job?
I'll go first on that one. Like I aimed for my position. I kind of didn't let her, at the time, the manager, have an option, just tell me no. I knew after I was graduating, I was moving back to Billings, and I knew that the fair was coming, and the Montana Fair here in Billings is the largest fair in our state. And so I knew I wanted to work the fair at least. I didn't realize there was so much more to be offered at Metro Park at the time, naively. And so I just hounded the marketing manager at the time for an interview. And finally, they just accepted to say yes and give me an internship. So the summer of 2014, I did my first internship for the fair for the marketing department.
I think Scott and I had the exact same internship right away, working for Tom Webster. So that was that simple. But for me personally, yes, I did help Tom at the theater, which anyone on here who is a student and looking for anything to do, Tom is, even though he's retired now, he's obviously a resource. But I mean, just go down to the theater and just meet everyone there you can and get to work and help for free, even if you have to. You will learn more working there for 5 hours one night than you will, in any classroom book setting that is trying to tell you how things actually run and operate. But other than that, I didn't have any other true internships. But right after I graduated, I knew I wanted to get into the agency world. I didn't want to live in LA or New York. And so I just kind of packed up everything and moved to Nashville without a job or anything lined up, and just started interviewing at the various agencies here. I valeted cars. I hawked cell phones out of the back of my truck, just selling Verizon phones to everyone in Montana, whatever I could do to just make enough money to not have to go back home. And after about 5 or 6 months of knocking on doors, I finally got into the mailroom at WME, where I have been almost 15 years. And I'm 10 days away. I will have just been at the same company for 15 years ever since graduation. So.
Yeah, Austin and I were very fortunate to get a prestigious internship with Tom Webster. And that kind of comes back to really, and even what Darcy is saying, it's kind of the don't take no for an answer. Get in, get on the ground, push boxes, clean, be a part of the janitorial service of a theater. I think the biggest thing is, you know, there's a lot of people vying for various leadership positions in our industry, and the reality is the people that are the best at what they do understand every facet from the top to bottom. My story's different just simply in the way that right out of college I went and created a business, which there's good and bad to that. I definitely could have learned a lot working under someone for a couple years and then going out, but anyway, I kind of learned things the hard way, but that could be a good way. But for me, it was going with Tom and going into the UMEM with the faculty and saying, I have an idea for booking a show, and this is the artist that I want to book. And 9 times out of 10, my ideas were absolutely crazy. It was like, I want to book Jonas Brothers in the Adams Center or something, and my professor at the time was like, that you're crazy, think of a better idea. But it was trial by error. And I learned so much. Like, I spent a year just kind of stowed away building offer sheets and understanding budgets and calling agents and cold calling agents for a year that I really never got anything done. But once I finally got some traction, those agents started to say, oh, you're the guy that called me 10 times and now you actually have something real. So yeah, let's figure it out. So persistence and not taking no is definitely a big part for me.
Yeah, not taking no, but also reading a room.
100%.
So
Yeah.
There, there's definitely something to be said about, even though you're told no, there's just something to be learned from it first before readdressing and trying to turn a no into a yes. So, they're all learning points in time where you get told no, whether that's already you're in a job and you get passed up for a promotion or whatever. But unless you're reflecting and asking the right questions to figure out why you were being told no at first, it's kind of hard to learn and take those next steps to turn the no into a yes.
Yeah, totally.
So you all just talked about some things that you learned right off the bat. So what are some of those key skills that are in high demand today, and how can students or early professionals develop those skills?
Patience. Be patient. Wait your turn sometimes. Being the loudest isn't always being the best. It's okay to make less money than someone else you know. Those will help you in the longest run in this industry. There's not a single person in this industry that started out making 6 figures a year. If that's what you want, go be an insurance salesman and you will crush.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate with a business degree. Go get a real estate license, something like that. It'll also be a better 9 to 5 for you. But if you are hell-bent on doing this, be prepared to work 80 hours a week or more and make minimum wage, or maybe a little bit better. You might even be lucky enough to get overtime when you are working overtime, and be patient. Good things will come if you continue to learn and make proper adjustments in your career path. But that is something I always am saying to young people when they start here at the company is be patient. Like, you're not going to become an agent in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Like, it takes time and it's going to be a grind. But once it all comes together, Katie bar the door, it can really be a very opportunistic career path for anyone in any sector in this industry, but it takes a while to get started.
Yeah, I mean, patience is the key. I mean, it's for specifically in my business and what we do, things don't really start to gel for years and years and years down the road. And I have people that come up and work for me and with me that are hungry and trying to figure out a way to get to that end goal immediately. And it really does just take time, and it's showing up and being willing to do the extra work and kind of putting yourself in that position of, hey, I'm here to learn and teach me. Like, let me take on some of the grunt work or the things that are taking up your time, and if I can use that as an opportunity to kind of get in favor with you and be learning alongside you. Those are the folks that have worked for me or with me and really been a great value add to what I do. And then I'd like to think that we've been able to give them great opportunities down the road. But yeah, there are a lot of competition. There's a lot of people trying to get into these positions. But if you're patient and work your butt off in a good way and showing up, I think you can go far for sure.
Yeah, those are great points. I would say also being a team member, whether it's working with your own staff or external staff or team members, vendors, any of that, just being a team player. I remember through the program, there is quite a few group projects. So really, like, this is the real world. You're going to work as a team. You're not going to work as a solo. Maybe as an agent, you're a little bit more on your own. But definitely when you're working in a facility, you are working with your production director, the facilities director, the GM or CEO of the building. There's so many moving parts, and you have to be able to work together and communicate.
I thought maybe when you had something to add real fast, your thing popped up. So I just want to remind everyone out there that if you do have any questions, go ahead and throw them in the Q&A, and I will get those asked to our panelists as well. But I can move on. So can you talk about a mentor or a specific networking opportunity that made a significant difference in your career?
For me, some of the serious connections and mentors made via the program in the university, definitely Scott Douglas, who was the program director at the time. We already mentioned Tom Webster, who has always been a stable force. But on the agency side, since that was my passion and career path I was gunning for, Keith Miller and James Yelich, who were our alum but founders of the program, were very much mentors that I just kind of clung to pick their brains and figure out how to just get into the industry. Both obviously Montana alum, but also very prestigious agents in the Nashville country music scene. And just learning how to do it. And I think also just taking from them that, James is from Red Lodge, Keith was from Kalispell, me growing up in Great Falls, like, hey, you can do this and you can be a kid from Montana and go to the University of Montana and be in the same shoes that we wear every day. Like, those things don't matter. And all these other things that we already said and going through, those were things that they, bestowed upon me of like, keep your mouth shut, keep your head down, be patient, just ask questions, ask what you can do. And those were things that they learned from. And then I ended up being lucky enough to be Keith Miller's assistant for 2.5 years before I got promoted and really learn under his tutelage of how to do the actual work of being an agent.
If I could sorry, Scott, real fast, ask a little follow-up question to you, Austin. What did you do to reach out to those mentors?
Well, the way the program was set up, I mean, they came and taught. So just the simpleness of getting their business card when they came to visit and then just staying in contact. And then when they would come and teach, they always made themselves very accessible. So a lot of that is them, not necessarily me being, pestering them enough, but like they would say, you know, at the end of class, like, hey, we're gonna go grab drinks at this bar or whatever, and if you want to come chat with us and ask questions, do it. But yeah, just taking advantage of those opportunities and always staying in contact with them. And so when it came time for me to move somewhere to pursue this, you know, I talked to both of them, and I already assumed Nashville would be the place, but they agreed that that's where I should go. And then they kind of helped initiate an interview or two for me to just kind of get the ball rolling. Like I said, it took almost 5 or 6 months of interviews and being told no a lot before. I mean, I applied or interviewed at WME 3 or 4 times before I actually got told yes. So I would take feedback and go back to them and say like, all right, this is what they're telling me. What do I need to do different to, you know, jump out on the page in the interview process? And so they were just very helpful all the way, you know, from top to bottom. And then just coincidentally, not because I was a student at the program or anything like that, I did get to work for Keith, who, I mean, his lineage of assistants that have gone on to become agents is, you know, it's legendary in this town for that guy. So it just happened to be that way. But yeah, and those are two guys that I still talk to. And I'm having lunch with Keith on Saturday, you know, to just go over what's going on in the industry and continue to get advice from him. Like the amount of wisdom within the university walls at Montana within the entertainment universe is very vast.
Yeah, you know, so we had touched on Tom, and absolutely Tom at the beginning, and even, you know, to this day and down the road has always been a huge advocate of mine and a connector to other people at the University of Montana in our network. And when I kind of started out, again, kind of on the entrepreneurial side of things and kind of learning as you go, networking was absolutely vital. Like I wouldn't have been able to get anywhere if I wouldn't have been aggressive about networking. So not only utilizing the university's entertainment program network and you know, folks like I was able to spend a bit of time with Keith Miller in the early days and just kind of get pointed in a direction philosophically of how to start. But then, you know, it was every relationship and connection I made, I really fostered. And then I in a strategic way, not, you know, not overbearing by any means, tried to lean on those folks to then help me get connected with other people in and around the lane that I was working in, and continually following up and fostering those relationships to this day, like is why I'm able to do what I'm doing, and has been really helpful. And for me, it was when I moved back to Dallas, getting connected with the local Live Nation offices and the local AEG offices and befriending those folks that were leading the charge and presidents of those offices and really kind of coming in and saying, you know, this is what we're doing festival wise and concert wise, and can we be partners or of support? And a lot of times, you know, we're in different lanes and different businesses, but those guys and girls really took kindly to that and would always pick up the phone when I called to troubleshoot through things. And then that, you know, ultimately down the road led to connecting with kind of the higher echelon of the promoter world and the C3s and the Charlie Walkers and the Talls. And those were kind of the bat phone of folks that I could call when I either really screwed up or I needed a lot of help, and kind of what the next step was. But also agents as a promoter, you know, there's a lot of different talk about what the promoter talent buyer agency relationship is. And I always found, you know, I was really fortunate to have really good relationships with agents, and could rely a lot on intel and understanding from a lot of those people as well. But yeah, again, just fostering those relationships and being aggressive about networking, and not, you know, not from a what can I get from you, but a how can I be value add and how can we grow together was really helpful for me.
So I didn't have a so-called mentor while I was in the program. I found my mentor later on, once I was hired full-time here at Metro Park, and it was actually the current general manager at the time, Bill Dutcher. He retired here in 2021 after working 40 years, and he started as a blue shirt, or which is our maintenance worker. So he was shoveling out stalling barns and cleaning toilets, and he worked his way up to the general manager position. And so I really looked at him as like what I want to achieve with my career in the entertainment on the facility side. So I definitely like idolize him and appreciate everything that he went through and really listen to what he had to go through and then try to apply it to how, because things are different these days as far as like technology and everything. So looking to apply it, take what he did, but try to apply it in my own way. And then, yeah, really leveraging any networking opportunity that you have, because this is a relationship business. And so if you don't have the relationships, you're not going to be successful.
Wonderful. That was some great insight from all three of you. Thank you so much. I did have some questions come through the chat, so I will ask some of those now. So the first one is, what are your biggest challenges day to day, and how do you navigate those?
Ooh. I'll say when we have a promoter or agency reach out and want multiple avails and they all want the same day. No. Just yeah, keeping up with the emails and the scheduling, because we usually have to schedule and announce a pre-sale, on-sale date. So keeping that all in line, and with me in marketing, it's using, our email platform, our social media. So really trying to stay organized and keeping all of that straight is probably one of the biggest challenges in the day-to-day. And then also, I work on sponsorships for our fair year round. So I'm constantly working on proposals and setting up meetings for potential sponsors.
Yeah, my bad for asking for all those avails. I just pulled up an email between you, me, and Cody, asking for a lot of avails one time. But I'd say on a very macro level, I think just personalities is the hardest thing. I think we work, it is so not siloed with how we work, or at least especially on the agency side, but it's like there's so many sectors of the industry that do have certain personalities. Like people on the road tend to be a little different than people in an office. Attorneys are a little bit different than promoters, and accountants are a little bit different than agents. And as an agent, you kind of touch every single sector of the industry, and you just have so many personalities and way that certain people within the industry work that it can be a lot to balance all of that and play things the right way and not upset anybody, but also know how to push things the right way. And so that can just be very macro thing to sort of look at. On a micro level, right now in the live sector, especially in my end with the artist representation, ticketing right now is very interesting to say the least. And I'm not just talking about solely the scalping endemic that is all over mainly the United States, that everyone's trying to figure out how to wrangle in. But ticketing has certainly become like the sector of the industry that is really the moneymaker. And whereas the talent kind of drives a little bit of it, and then brands and sponsorships drive a little bit of it, but everyone's trying to wrap their head around ticketing and how that is actually the true moneymaker and how the live industry works nowadays. I mean, you can look and see how people were freaking out 30 years ago when a Super Bowl ticket was $300, and now, they're 50 grand to go to a Super Bowl game. Is it because football became that much more popular, or is it but for whatever reason, ticketing has just gone bananas. So, anyways, I could go on forever about it, but yeah, organizing behaviors and people's personalities, but also the ticketing aspect of live entertainment right now is definitely something that is on the top of everyone's mind every day.
I'm wearing several hats right now. From organizing music festival to working on some venue development projects, and then even kind of going across the lane of diligence on M&A opportunities nationally and whatnot. And I'd say for me, it's time management is one of the hardest parts, and definitely on the team building side. Festival kind of in the business that we're in is we rely a lot on independent contractors that run lead positions that come in, and they also run these same positions, whether it be artist relations, production, site operations, etc., for other events around the country. A lot of the big festivals that you probably will know of. And the hard part for us is, at least in the mode we're in now, in startup mode, is where it's always kind of restarting the engine every year. And so that's where we're at. That's where a lot of time and focus goes through on my end. On the operations side is, getting those teams reconnected. Especially for instance, in Missoula, Montana, like there's a lot of pressure to be able to do what we're doing in town, at the Missoula Fairgrounds, to not disturb the neighborhoods, work peaceably with the businesses. And so huge relationship portion of my business. And that's even liaising with local businesses and talking about how traffic movement, people movement, and things like that will impact their businesses, and positively and negatively. We'd like to think more positively. From the higher, or from like a larger viewpoint, just industry as a whole, I'm kind of a gunslinger in my space and what I do, and so there's a lot of risk. Like what we'd like to think is calculated risk, but we're not that sophisticated, so we kind of give it the best shot we can. But we're really trying to understand where the growth opportunities are, especially in a world that's just seen a huge amount of consolidation via the Live Nations, the AGs. Consumer trends are changing. Alcohol sales are down, which has been a huge ancillary revenue stream that we've relied on. And so it's really kind of what is the next path for growth in our space. And I've been predominantly in the festival business for close to 15 plus years. And so we're kind of looking at things. What are alternatives to just going out and building music festivals, and what are other places that we can build, develop, and produce content at? So it's never not interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, that all sounds very interesting. A couple more questions from the Q&A real fast. The first one is, how is the entertainment industry changing, and do you see any new career pathways emerging?
Yeah, we're in the middle of a boom. When Scott and I were in college, it was like the app boom when iPhones were taking off. And before that was the dot-com boom. But with this new AI boom, it's going to be very interesting to see how things develop in that world. There is also a massive court case that's going on with Ticketmaster and Live Nation that is going to court in March, which could really shake up things. And happy to share any sort of articles or anything if that is part of this, if people are sharing information. But there are some major ramifications from that depending on how things go, and no one really knows how they're going to go because depositions are done. But they're calling in some pretty big people to testify under oath. That some of the largest managers in the world, agents, are getting called in. Like, what do you know about where ticketing fees are actually going and scout money and all of that? And it would be very, very interesting. how it goes from there. But the AI part really is going to change up, I think. I mean, you can go down a pretty dark path on where it's going to lead, but I think in the live space, I think some of these, just sort of lower level jobs that are mainly data and inputting, those will go away. But physical jobs will stay, so it's not a bad time to, learn how to weld and learn how to, put a stage together right now. It's not a bad time.
I'll let you jump, Darcy, on that, and then jump behind you.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, with AI and technology, I definitely like that's gonna be interesting to see how that is gonna start implementing itself even more. I know we use it in our office daily for our marketing needs because saying XYZ is coming to the Metro, you can only say it so many ways. But yeah, and then the ticketing thing is huge. We are an access building, so we are working with them and, the all-in ticket pricing and showing the fees and all that, trying to be as transparent as we can be. But everybody is still like on the edge of their seats waiting to see what's going to come about because there is going to be huge changes once that's all settled.
Yeah, and sorry, Jay, and the question was, where's the industry go? Can you repeat what that question was? I got sidetracked for a second.
Yeah, you're all good. It was, how is the entertainment industry changing? And then do you see any new career pathways emerging?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely echo the idea of there's going to be a lot of remedial jobs or data jobs, like Austin said, that, that's going to be a tough opportunity in the future. And again, this is like relying on my experience personally. I at least feel good with where I'm at. And I think about this for other folks that are looking to get into kind of the development space. There's always going to need to be an opportunity. There's always going to be an opportunity for people to generate new ideas that involve producing content on stages or delivering content on stages. And I don't think AI will have, the ability to replicate that. It may provide better resources and tools and data to make better decisions. But I think this all kind of comes back to relationships as well. If you're out hitting the ground, developing relationships, and putting yourself in a position to provide value to other organizations, AI can't replace that. What is that exactly at this moment? It's a lot of different things, but I think it takes you and your ability to kind of unearth what that person, what that organization is looking for, what they need to grow. But I'd like to think that getting into the live space, there's a hedge there, given the amount of personnel and people that it takes to represent these teams and these artists and these events. That there's still, it's a great place to be looking at for the future.
You can't replace the live experience, whether it's live music or a touring play or live speaking engagements. I mean, it's been forever that you could see whomever on TV talking, but people still pay tickets to go see them live. Mm-hmm. So in the live, even with all this disruption, we're certainly not trying to be doom and gloom like that. There will still be live entertainment. So, but to Scott's point, the creativeness of what is that live entertainment is always at the heart of what we do. You just never know what it's going to be. I mean, I have a 3-year-old daughter, and Scott's right there with me. And like, we just signed this act who's a YouTube personality called Danny Go. It's insanity. It's literally a guy just like jumping around like a madman and makes your kids like do exercises with him. That is something that I couldn't have imagined being a live touring entity, because he does it in front of a green screen on YouTube. But it's going live and it's touring and it's gonna crush. So like the things that we're talking about, and it could be scary, but it doesn't have to be just like the same old thing of like an artist, a musical act touring. Like you can find some of the things that you never imagined would have been, scalable to hit the road and go on tour, but it can be. And we have alumni from the program that and founders that work in that space, work with things like Riverdance and Walking with Dinosaurs and the Mythbusters tour that Clint Mitchell is the founder that heads up all those things. But like things that you wouldn't think would make sense to tour that make millions and millions of dollars touring. And you can't replace that with AI or a hologram or whatever people think is going to be the next thing that takes over.
But I think I think that's really important, because I think so many times, at least in my experience, we get on these calls or we get in front of the students and we all represent ourselves in the entertainment business, and music so many times becomes the forefront of that conversation. And alternative programming would blow a lot of people's minds if they really understood and sat down and saw how big, how important, how much of an opportunity there was in that space. It's really, I try to get my brain out of music so often to think what is
Yeah.
the other thing out there?
I agree, because that's like, so we do Montana Fair, so even the fair industry itself, and like that's its whole nother world. Yes, it has like music components, but it's crazy. Yeah, you kind of get siloed into just thinking about the music industry when you're in the program, but when you take a step back and really look at all the other entertainment options, it's endless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took my daughter to Monster Jam this weekend in Nashville, and the way that I thought of monster truck shows from when I was a kid to what it is now, it's interactive. You're pulling out your cell phones. There's QR codes everywhere. There's teams, and especially having little girls, like there's monster trucks that are like dressed up like unicorns. There's female driver, like they know what their base is and they know it's little kids, even though it's monster trucks. Like everyone there was a family, and if you have kids, you are going to spend money to take them out to go do things to get out of the dang house. So, and that was 3 shows in the arena here. There was 2 matinees and 1 night show over 2 days. Sold out, 17,000 tickets every single time. And then they announced the next day that it's coming back to Nashville to play the football stadium, 70,000 tickets in May. Like that touring entity is something where you might not think like, man, if we just get a bunch of trucks together, but it like if it, to Scott's point, yes, outside of just the music entertainment arena, it is wild the opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into the second question, where it was like new career opportunities or job. I would say that we're seeing a lot more requests from artists, kind of going back to the music and arena side of like special activations. I feel like we had Hosier come this summer, and then we just had Nate Bargatze, and they wanted all these programming, and we could almost use a whole role just for someone to program activations for artists when they come to visit. Maybe buildings have it, we don't, but I could see that potentially as artists are getting back into being more active. I know they weren't for a while there with the pandemic. We didn't see as much like meet and greets or anything. So now that I think everything's starting to really settle, we're seeing a lot more engagement that way.
Yeah, well, that was all very insightful. Every single one of these conversations we've had in this series, I feel like AI and changes have gotten brought up, so it'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out. But I do want to get to this question from Jeff in the chat because it is a good question. And he was saying, there's probably some glamorous moments, we were by celebrities and all that stuff, but is there any belief that you had about the entertainment business that you had when you started that turned out to be wrong? And were there any celebrity moments that didn't go planned as expected?
I'll go, because I was, very naive, like that. Yes, that you got to meet the artists. Nope, not all the time. And that you got free tickets. Nope, not all the time. So you're literally there working. So you can't engage, like you're there to do your job. You're not there to be a fan. You're there to, put on a show for other people to have the experience. So yeah, that glamour part, that's not there. There are some moments, but most of the time it's not. You're there to work, so you just have to remember that. And you're behind the scenes, you're not the forefront. And then celebrity moments that didn't go as planned or exceeded your expectations. I
So
might have
either
to
if
circle
there's any
back.
good ones too.
I'll have to go back to that. Well, actually, no. So we had Zach Top here on Halloween, and I took my 4-year-old son for his first concert. So I did leverage where I work to get into the meet and greet so my son could meet him. So there is opportunities. But I have worked here for 10 years, and that was the first time I've ever stuck my neck out like that for that kind of request, just knowing that it is frowned upon. So that's always something to be mindful of. But Zach was great. So very down to earth. I've heard horror stories from previous artists that have visited the building, but yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, I'm a little different since I'm in the artist representation business, so I guess maybe I have a little bit more interaction from time to time because you will attend some of the events that are like listed in the question from Jeff, like the Grammys. So you kind of run into people a little more often, or they might just be in our office to take a meeting or something. But um, I think, one thing you learn pretty quick is that they are people, and like all people are different. So sometimes there's ones that want to talk and some that don't want to talk, some that are like super nice and open, and some that are like not as nice as what you might imagine or think. Um, I've heard certain clients of ours like say like I want to have an agent that is also a friend of mine that I can talk to and hang out with. And I've heard clients say, quote, I have enough friends. I just need someone that makes me money. And that's perfectly all right because, we're in the bit, I don't make a dime unless our clients are making money too. So that is our job. We are a commission-based business on my end. Um, so yeah, just kind of learning that there are people too, and Darcy hit it on the head. Like, there are times where like I go cover a show for a client, and like the best that's gonna happen is I say hi to the tour manager because the artist is on the bus and just doesn't want to see anyone, and that's okay. Like you have to, even though you're there to like do your job, like you're not you're not there to if the artist doesn't want to talk or hang out, that's just it. They're the boss. Without the artist or the company in question doing the live event, none of the three of us here have a job anyways. So like whatever makes them happy, fine. Um, I would say that probably like the one like celebrity thing that like people think, and maybe at some point I thought it was true too. There is no such thing as a backstage pass.
Yeah.
So don't ask anyone for it. Like this whole
Yes.
like I don't know how many times you watched Wayne's World, but those don't exist. Like sometimes an artist will do a meet and greet, which are becoming less and less and less of a thing that happens. But that's about it. If you were to ever go backstage at a show, my wife learned that. She's like, "Oh, backstage sucks. Like there's nothing like it's just people working." Like, would you like to go to a construction site and watch people work? That's literally what it is. So like there's no such thing as a backstage pass. We don't, no one, you never have to ask for one again.
Yeah, unless you can sneak into catering, because catering
Yeah,
usually has the best
exactly.
snacks.
Yeah. Catering is a lifesaver, especially when you have your 4-year-old. Let's go do snacks. Hurry.
No, I think we all work for artists in varying positions. And I think in my world and in Darcy's too, it's like, and we have, we'll have festivals with all these different artists and people always say, oh, are you like hanging out with them and are you friends with them? And are you going to talk to them? And the reality is it's like, no, I'm running a show to make sure that they can get up on stage and get everything that they need and want on the way in while they're there and on the way out. And then if I'm standing next to them or they're walking by me, at least for me personally, like there's some promoters that definitely want to get photos and do all that stuff. I'm just like, man, that person's working and I'm working, and like I'm not interested in bothering them right now. Like they're not my friends. Like if we became friends in some other format, that's great. But yeah, I just think at the end of the day, a lot of us it's we're working hard to make sure that we're doing a good job and that they're leaving happy and with a good experience. I mean, definitely have like we've seen all of it, like from different artists wanting different things or being upset about this, that, and the other. And I would say 9 times out of 10, the artists that are the toughest to deal with are the youngest and not even anywhere close to the headline bill. Once you start getting up to being a headliner or close to that range, you've obviously proven yourself to these, huge agencies like William Morris, CAA, Wasserman, et cetera, and they surround themselves with artists and people they want to work with and take them to the top. So they're usually can be easier to deal with. I mean, they've got their demands, but it's just, they're working on their art and you got to produce it. So
There was a great line that Keith Miller told me, and he learned it from Rick Shipp, who used to be the head of William Morris in Nashville, and before that when it was Triad. You never get in between the artist and the spotlight. And so like
yeah.
we're all on this phone call. We're all very cautious, even maybe not cautious, but before we even do something like this, it's like we're just going to make sure that we're talking about things like this that are productive and educational. But like, you'll find yourself in a situation where someone's quizzing you on particular artists and certain things, and before you know it, it's on a message board or worse, in a newspaper. And and one way to do that too is to always be like the person on the stage trying to end up in a photograph and asking, I mean, we're probably all the same. Like you get asked to do things like this and like, hey, do you have any photographs of you with like artists that you could share? And I'm like, I really don't. Like, or if I do, it's not like one I'm going to share because maybe it's like an artist to me when they're like in their sweats, like with no makeup or anything, and like they would kill me yeah. So it's just like it's very much you have to be very careful too of realizing like even putting yourself out in that way, like it's their career and like they're the ones that's going to end up in the headlines, even if it's us here on this call, they're the ones that messed something up or did whatever. The artist will always be the one that gets blamed for it. Whether scalp tickets being out of control, which the artist controls zero, they get blamed for it. If a stage collapses, which the artist controls zero, like they'll get blamed for it. Like, so you always, in any sector of the industry, and especially S3 that like work very directly with the teams, like you want to make sure that nothing we do ends up putting that artist in a bad spotlight and putting us in an awkward spotlight of being like, hey, can we get a quick photo right before you go on stage? That would just be so unprofessional.
Yeah.
But we see people do it all the time. It's
Yep.
wild.
Yeah, because like on the venue side, we want you to come back, whether with the same artist or a different artist. We want to work with your agency or your promoting company again. Like, so we want to put on our best behavior to make sure that we establish a strong relationship that makes you like, hey, we're going on tour. I want this artist because this building was great and awesome to work with.
And we all talk.
Yes.
and then
For
the
as
artists
big
all
as
talk
the
too.
industry is, it is also very small.
I mean, like I said, very quickly, I pulled up an email from July of 2026 between Darcy and me, like that, so doesn't take long,
No.
to find dots. And Scott and I talk, we talked about networking and all that. Like we on this call become our own networking, and mentorship community eventually. Like we're the ones in the ditches, trying to figure out what the next things are, and we're constantly talking about markets and acts that are working and all those types of things. Like we end up becoming that, and we lean on our mentors to help us. Like, have you ever run into the situation? But like I said, like I'm going to lunch with Keith Miller because he wants to know what's going on now.
Yeah.
You know, like eventually you rise up through this program and you're all of a sudden the old guys and gals. So the old guard.
So we are running short on time here, so I have one final question for you guys. And it is, if you can go back in time to your U of M self, what is one piece of advice you would give?
Don't be like, you're coming out of college, it feels like there's all these pressures, or whether you put them on yourself or other people put them on you, and that the next steps have to be exactly X, Y, Z, so on and so forth, or you're not, keeping up or excelling. And I'm just saying, not everyone thinks that way, but if you do, I just think it's like, give yourself the time and break to figure things out, and just not be hard on yourself, because when you're getting out of college, like I've been out of college now for, I don't even, like, 16 years, and I just look back at, man, if I would have just been a little less stressed and put a little bit less pressure on myself, maybe I could have had a bit more fun. Maybe I could have enjoyed it a bit more. And not that I didn't enjoy so much of it, but I just think that that pressure is not necessary, and just be curious and work your butt off, and put yourself and be available to people that want to help you, and surround yourself with good people. I think
Anybody
you're on
else?
mute, Austin.
Yeah, no, you hit it on the head, like sitting back and enjoying the moments, like you just even to piggyback off the last thing, it's like there are random moments where you're in like an incredible situation and you get so worried about not being the weirdo, like taking, pictures and things, but there are times where you should actually enjoy it. My wife is constantly on me of like, hey, you do realize that you went to a party tonight and like Paul McCartney was there and he almost ran into you in the hallway. And I was so worried about like not looking him in the eye, that I didn't soak in the moment. Not that I would ever ask him for a picture, but just like could have given him knucks and be like, "What's up, Paul?" and just kept walking. Like, "What's up, sir?" Paul McCartney. Like, I don't know. There are moments like that where you do like get so worried about it. So that is a great point. Like, it is such a grind and it's so hard and there's so much professionalism, but at the end of the day, we do get to have like really fun jobs, and taking a moment, taking some times to like enjoy that, and and however that is, it's like, I've started to do it with like taking my family to some of these things rather than just going by myself, because I know how I am and I'll just be so meticulous, like get in, say all my highs, get what, take my computer and like knock out whatever it is I got to do. And then I go right back to the hotel room and I'm on the 6 a.m. flight, like out of there, and like I'm back home. And it's like, it was really cool to like take my family to New York City, first time having a client play Madison Square Garden, and like have my wife there, and like I was like, we're just gonna go stand in the back and I'm gonna, say hi to a couple people, but we're just gonna stand in the back and like watch the show. And like that was good, those little things that I think Scott's talking about.
Totally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just enjoy it while you're in it. Soak up as much as you can from the program, because the tools that it gives you will definitely help you be successful in your future if this is what you want to do in any area of the entertainment world. Yeah, I mean, we're in the business of fun, and if you're not having fun, then find a different industry to be in. One advice that I would probably give myself when I was a student would be to, I think, buy the concert ticket. Like, we're broke college kids, but buy the concert ticket, go to the venue, look at the venue, don't just party it up and attempt to watch the concert. Like, go to the venue, enjoy the show, see what the venue's doing as far as like, the aesthetics, like what kind of vibes is it putting out, and like really enjoy the show.
Yeah, I would also say just remember if you're going through the program, the community of students in that program will be your community professionally as well. Like it carries on. The fact that, I mean, Darcy could literally say like, Scott, you were essentially my teacher in the program, and Scott and I grew up in this thing, and we're still literally talking every other week, at least a few times a month. Like these are other people that will be around you, and it's whether they are buildings, promoters, agents, marketing people. Somebody will end up at a label. Someone will go get their law degree and end up working in the entertainment industry. Like it does not matter. Like the people in those classrooms with you will be your people moving forward. It is, like Darcy said, that small of an industry. Everyone will end up being your colleagues at the same time. So, be a team player, like Darcy said, right away, because they're going to continue to be your team all the way through your career.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So we are out of time for today, but I do want to give a huge thank you to Scott, Austin, and Darcy for taking time out of their very busy schedules to chat with us. And I want you to make sure to check out upcoming Griz Paths conversations. We will be back twice in February, the first one on the 11th, focusing on journalism, and then on the 25th, we will be with professionals in the nonprofit sector. And you can register for all of those sessions at grizalum.org. So until then, have a great rest of your week, and go Griz.
FTC.
Thanks, y'all.